Welcome to Rooted and Rising Healing. I'm your host, Hallie Roderick, and this space is for women rebuilding after betrayal. Here we make sense of what happened, find truth again, and reconnect with who you really are beyond the pain. Whether you're staying, leaving, or still in the middle, your story matters. Together, we'll explore truth, clarity, and the quiet courage it takes to rise from the wreckage of what was into the wholeness of who you're becoming. You're safe to be here. In the messy middle, in the rebuilding, and in the rising. Let's begin. If you're a mom or a daughter and you've ever felt that quiet desire for deeper connection between you, but you don't want it to feel forced or uncomfortable, I want to invite you into something really special. It's called Becoming Together, a mother-daughter retreat in Sedona, Arizona, happening September 8th through the 12th, that I'm hosting alongside my own daughters. This experience is really close to our hearts because we understand that every mother-daughter relationship is unique and it's not always perfect. And this isn't about fixing anything. It's about creating a space to soften, to breathe, and to connect in your own way. Over a few beautiful days in Sedona, we'll guide you through experiences like breathwork, sound baths, mindful movement, even a vortex hike, and of course, nourishing meals. Each of us bringing our own gifts to support you, while also honoring your individual journey. There's no pressure to open up before you're ready, no expectation to be anything other than yourself, just a safe, supportive space to reconnect with yourself, with each other, and with something greater. If you feel even the smallest pull, you can find more information in the show notes, because you don't have to have a perfect relationship to begin becoming together. Hey, welcome back. I'm so glad you're here today. And I want to start by saying the word self-care out loud, because I think it's one of the most misunderstood words that we've got. When most people hear it, what comes to mind? Massages, facials, bubble baths, maybe a spa day if you're treating yourself. And look, none of that is actually bad, but somewhere along the way, we let self-care get reduced to a treat or a reward, something that you earn after you've worked hard enough, or something that you splurge on when you're already burned out. We made it a luxury. And if it's a luxury, then it's optional. And if it's optional, it's the first thing to go when life gets hard. Here's what I've come to believe, and what I want this whole episode to be about, is that self-care is not a luxury, and it's not a treat. It's essential. It's foundational. And it's one of the most compassionate and serious things you can do for yourself in real healing. And it's not the candle at the end of the day. It's the way that you stay connected to your own body all day long. And I also want to confess something, because a lot of you are going to see yourselves in this probably. For a long time, my version of self-care lived in one little sacred block of time, which was 2 hours in the morning. That was the window. And on the mornings that it happened, I felt pretty much unstoppable. But on the mornings that it didn't, let's say one of the kids woke up early, or my work blew up, or I slept through my alarm, a switch flipped in my brain that said, well, that's it. The day's ruined. No self-care today. This all or nothing black or white thinking. And it took me a long time to see that the problem wasn't the missed morning. The problem was the whole idea I had about what self-care even was. I thought it was an event, a thing that you do, when really it's a way of being with yourself. So today I'm hoping to reframe the whole thing. So let's jump into a little bit more. I want to start by debunking a few self-care myths. And this all comes from that cultural image that the spa, the massage, the facial, the hot bath, all of that is a way to treat yourself. And when we look at self-care as a way to reward or to treat ourselves, then we can step into this dangerous zone of actually quietly harming, because self-care is actually a need that you meet. You don't actually earn the right to drink water. Same thing with self-care. It's a need. And when we frame self-care as those external things like a massage, and trust me, I love a good massage. I love a good facial. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with those. But when that's what we view self-care as, it becomes expensive and occasional, maybe something that you do a few times a year, when what we actually need is something that is free and constant. It also makes self-care external, like something that is done to you by someone else. And really, the real shift needs to be that self-care is a relationship with yourself. It's compassionate. It's how you treat yourself in the same way that you would treat someone that you love, not from a place of indulgence, but from a place of kindness. And self-care is essential, just like food, like sleep, like water. It's not the cherry on top of the day. It's actually the foundation. And so I'm hoping that if you have thought like I have, and not black and white thinking or all or nothing or this external cultural belief about self-care, I'm going to invite you to have a shift in your thinking like I did. That it's not actually something that you're actively adding to your life, but it's a change in how you relate to yourself moment to moment. And again, I love a good bubble bath. A bubble bath is fine. But if the bubble bath is the only time in the week that you're tending to your body, that's not self-care. It's actually more like damage control. So think about self-care being for the whole day and not just for a moment of crisis. Because a lot of times we fall into this pattern that we only reach for things that are in a self-care state of mind when we're already in crisis, when we're already crying, when we're already over functioning, when we're already at the edge, maybe we're in a panic state, and then we reach for some sort of self-care. And this is more like crisis only care. And the challenge with that is that when your body is in full alarm, a single intervention is likely not going to do the work of pulling you back from that brink, because that's a lot to ask for just one deep breath to pull you back from the brink of overreacting. And so if you think of it that way, sometimes we're using self-care as like a fire extinguisher, something we grab for when something's already on fire or out of control. And I would invite you to think of self-care as more like a thermostat. It's the small, constant adjustments that keep you regulated before the fire alarm ever goes off, before that internal alarm in your nervous system, in your body ever goes off. This is how true regulation tends to work. It's not something that we come in when we're already on fire. It's something that we regulate all throughout the day. And if we, in a sense, white knuckle until we collapse and then we treat ourselves, then we're not actually anchoring into our body throughout the day. And anchoring into your body throughout the day over and over gently will help us stay out of those crisis modes. Or if when those crisis modes come, we'll be able to anchor back into our body more quickly if we're doing it throughout the day. And this is where that all or nothing trap comes in, because my 2-hour block of self-care in the morning wasn't actually the problem. I still like to do that. And when it happens, it's great. The problem is if that's the only doorway into feeling cared for, then that's a pretty fragile window. And one disrupted morning can give my brain permission to write off the whole day. And so if you can relate to this, that if these certain things don't happen, then the whole day is lost. I've been there. I get that. I know what that's like. And I've learned to think of self-care as not an event or something that I attend or something that I miss. It's actually a thread, and I get to pick it back up all day long. And most of the time, I get to pick it up long before I'm in crisis. At least I hope to. So think of it more like, instead of one window into a day that's going to be regulated, think of it more doorways. And when we can think of lots of little doorways throughout the day, it can happen a dozen tiny ways throughout the day, then we're not missing one opportunity. And if we miss one, there's always another door around the corner. So when we do it this way, we're actually teaching our nervous system to get into a rhythm. And it's not something that we're waiting for a big event to come and rescue, but it's these small, frequent returns to ourselves, to our internal climate, to a calm that we're finding from within, instead of one big reset that wears off by noon. And this is what can help us really anchor into that internal authority. And it's not just one habit. It's not just 2 hours once a day that says, I do self-care, check the box. It's micro moments all throughout the day. And trust me, I have a brain who likes to check the box. So doing self-care and checking the box can actually be a little satisfying for a brain like mine. But the micro moments all day long is what really trains my brain to say, I'm someone who cares for myself. And that's the whole internal shift that is going to move us into more of a recovery and a growth mindset. And we bake it into how we live instead of just that one big event. And in a sense, it lowers the stakes, it lowers the shame, it lowers the expectations of me needing this 2-hour block of window. And it takes away from being one single moment that carries all the weight and everything's lost if I miss it, into a whole day of possibilities. And missing that one thing doesn't trigger me into a failure spiral. And so think of presence over performance. The goal isn't to check a box. It's to keep coming home to your body again and again. And when the 2-hour block in the morning happens, it's a gift. And when it doesn't, nothing is lost, because my self-care isn't a window that I missed. It's the way that I'm living in this body all day long. So I want to give you some ideas, and I would invite you to think of this like a menu, okay? Not a to-do list. You're not failing if you don't do all of them. I actually wouldn't expect anybody to do all of them. Just notice. Sometimes at the in-person events that I do, I have people come up with a list called Cultivating Bliss. Things that you can think of that bring you joy, little small moments, little small things that can help you move into a moment of joy or bliss. So I'm going to give you a list of things that you could possibly put on your menu that might cultivate bliss. And then I'm going to invite you to create your own. And notice that the ones I'm going to share with you, almost all of these cost nothing. They don't require a spa appointment. So think of this as self-care reimagined. It's free, it's constant, it's already yours to own and to claim in any moment that you can throughout the day. So here's some examples and some of my favorites. One that is easiest, because I live in the desert where the sun is always out, is some sun on your face. I often do this in between appointments. I will step outside, I turn my face up, and I just stand there for 10 seconds soaking in the sun. If I can put my feet in the grass or in the dirt at the same time, that's a double bonus. Feet in the grass and feet in the dirt is another opportunity to literally just like ground into our body. We're putting our feet in the ground. I love a mindful meal. So think about the next time you take a meal, or even just the next time you take a bite. What is it that you actually are tasting? Can you put your phone down? Can you put the pen down? Can you step away from your desk or your computer and really just be mindful about what you're eating? What do you notice on the plate? What are the different colors? If you've got a utensil in your hand, what does it feel like? What's the tactile experience of eating? Can you activate your 5 senses while you're eating? What do you smell? Can you differentiate the flavors in whatever it is you're eating? Or is it crunchy? Is it soft? Does it melt in your mouth? So a mindful meal or a mindful snack is one of the easiest and most enjoyable things. Taking a walk around the block. Now, of course, if you like to run or walk for fitness, then that's great. But maybe you don't have time for that. Can you just do a quick walk around the block or walk around your house? Not for fitness, just to change your scenery, just to change your state of mind. And can you pay attention to what you're seeing on those walks? The things you're not normally hearing, the birds singing. There's an app one of my clients introduced me to. I'm not really a birder, but I'm enjoying it more. It's called Merlin. You can turn it on and it'll pick up the songs of the birds singing around you. One time I walked around my neighborhood and I picked up 17 different birds and I was like, I've never noticed all those birds singing because I'm always so much up in my head. It's a free app. Check it out. It's called Merlin. But also, can you stop and literally smell the roses? What do you notice in your neighbor's yards or on the road? Or what do you hear? What do you smell? Just really be mindful. Be present in that moment. Presence is the key to all of this. Taking a few breaths, Breathing. You've heard me say before on here that your breath is the first thing that is with you from the moment you're born, and it carries with you through your entire life. It's the last thing that you have with you until you pass on to the next life. Your breath is your constant anchor. So a few rounds of breathing, longer inhales in through your nose, exhales out through your mouth. This costs nothing, and nobody even has to know around you that you're doing it. I love soft music. There's nothing like music that can change my mood faster. And maybe it's not soft music. Maybe it's uplifting. Maybe it's motivating. Maybe it's a music that matches your tone or your mood. A single song between tasks can be a sound that tells your body you're okay. I do love candles and incense, a small sensory ritual that marks a moment as intentional. And then connection with safe others. Sometimes a 2-line text between someone safe. A co-regulation with a child or another safe person. Maybe with a pet, 30 seconds petting your dog, or a real hug from a kid can really help you feel that connection into yourself and safe others. I'm a big fan of guided meditation or guided mindfulness. Even a 3-minute one. You don't even need the full 20 minutes, just a 3-minute one. My favorite grounding technique is called a take 5. You scan through your 5 senses and you just notice what you're feeling in all your 5 senses. Or even just anchoring your feet on the ground and paying attention. Some other ones, the doorway pause. Every time you walk through a doorway, can you pause and take one conscious breath every time you walk through a doorway? Warm water on your hands. Wash slowly and actually feel the warmth. If you're using soap, what does it smell like? What does it feel like? If you're washing dishes, can you pay attention to the dishes, the sounds? Even a stretch or a sigh. There's something wise that happens in yoga. Can you do a big power pose stretch and an audible exhale to really discharge any tension? Can you verbalize one good thing? One thing that is okay right now? I often tell my clients, feet on the ground, lengthen your spine, soft front, strong back. 2-second posture reset. So did you hear that? Feet on the ground. Lengthen your spine and think strong back, soft front. Because I want to be strong in what I know to be true, strong in my own identity, and a soft front in how I present. A transition ritual. Mark a shift between the tasks that you're doing so that stress doesn't bleed from one into the next. Maybe that's a closing of your laptop if you're moving from work into real life. Maybe it's a physical ritual that you do. Sometimes I rub my hand across my forehead when I'm shifting clients or shifting gears in work. So it's like I'm putting this down and I'm picking up what's next. I'm being present for what's next. Cold water on your wrists or your face can be a quick change of state when you're activated. Can you look far away? So sometimes we get so caught up in what's here right in front of us. Can you rest your eyes on something distant for a few seconds? Place your hand on your heart. If you can, skin to skin, your own hand on your own heart can release the grounding chemical of oxytocin. And our body doesn't know the difference between our own safe touch and someone else's. And maybe a single task minute, one full minute where you do one thing. You're fully present, fully in this moment. Set your timer if you need to. And notice that these things that I just listed, and there's probably a million more, these things take seconds to minutes. And none of them are a facial, none of them are a massage. This is what anchoring into your body all day long might look like. So here's what I'm hoping you take away with you, is that self-care was never supposed to be a luxury that you earn or a treat you splurge on when you're already running on empty. It's not the massage, it's not the facial, and while those are lovely, they're not the foundation. The foundation is the way that you stay in relationship with your own body, kindly, constantly, all day long. And that's the shift true healing asks of us. Don't wait for the crisis to start anchoring into something. Start anchoring in early and often. And treat yourself as someone worth caring for in the small, ordinary, unglamorous, messy middle of the day. Not just in the emergency, not just in the perfect 2-hour window, but in all the little small moments throughout the day. So if your morning fell apart today like mine did, hear this clearly. Nothing is lost. You haven't blown it. The next micro moment is always 30 seconds away. At the sink, in a doorway, with the sun on your face, or with your hand on your chest. So I would invite you to pick one thing off the menu today, or one that speaks to you, just one, and notice what it's like to care for yourself. Not because you earned it, but because you're someone worth caring for. I hope this was helpful for you. Thanks so much for being here. And if this spoke to you, I would love it if you would give my show a rating, leave a review, send me a message if there's something that you want to talk about, and I'll see you next time. Go take care of yourself in the small ways, because the small ways are actually small at all. Thank you for being here with me inside Rooted and Rising Healing. Remember, healing isn't a destination, it's a returning to your truth, to your voice, to the woman you were always meant to be. You have the power to rise at your own pace, in your own way. And when it feels hard, just come back to your breath and remind yourself, still I rise. If this episode spoke to you, I'd love if you shared it with another sister on the journey. And until next time, stay rooted, stay rising. You've got this.